friends, it's Linda from Richter Stitcher. I thought I would come on today. It's Monday the 24th of July, so we're getting close to the end of the month. I thought this could be a Flosstube extra. I'll do an August update with all of my crafty stuff between cross stitch and crochet and what's the other thing I do? Sew. So I have to gather all that stuff, but we're back from the lake. The last 3 weekends have been pretty crazy with just being at the lake and enjoying the water with the grand and my granddaughter, as well as my daughter and my son. But we've had a good few weeks. It's been hot, so we knew August or summer would be this way, so that's why we started the lake life. But today, since we're back from the lake and probably will be home a couple weeks, I really wanted to focus on some things that kind of got me started when I was doing my craft room clean out with Alicia. I really wanted to get organized in what stitching I prefer to do now. It's been about 3 years since I've started, almost 4, back into cross stitch. Didn't get into Flosstube till like 2022 is when I started my Flosstube, but actually watching and all was actually during COVID 2020. I just kind of got hooked and wanted to start a channel for almost 2 years before I actually dove in. But just recently I've really been loving all of the sampler type stitching and watching the Flosstubes and the backgrounds they have. Their whole wall is full of sample stitching, and I really wanted to find out what I had after collecting for 3 years. So a lot of it is a collection, but I have started a few. Just measly little starts, but I wanted to share those today. I don't know if they call this a whip parade or not, but besides what I've started, I wanted to share the charts that I've collected as well. And just if you want to see different charts, that's kind of what this Flosstube extra is going to be. Took my morning, it's almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon, to pull out my charts, look on my shelf of whips and fully kitted ones that I've kitted and haven't started. But I wanted to put them in some kind of an assemblance so that this hopefully won't be scattered. So I guess I'll just dive in. You'll kind of see as I go. I've put just some charts together that are like singles that have been in my collection, so hopefully I can go through those fairly quickly, because I won't have threads or things like that to share, but just so that you can see. Now some of these might be out of print, I'm not sure. I didn't research it in that regard, but if I know where I bought it, I'll try to mention that. Otherwise, if you have a specific one that I can try to remember where I bought it, and you can comment below. So just to get started, we'll start with this stack. You'll see probably posts on my Instagram and stuff of what it looks like to get started. But and then the other question was, how do people describe samplers, or what truly is a sampler? When I think of samplers, and I didn't look it up, I probably should have, I think of the ones that have ABCs in them. If they're, back in the day when you hear a story of a girl that did a sampler, that's kind of what I pulled from my stash and my whips and things. I also thought if the name of the designer had samplers in it, and it looked like a sampler to me, those are also going to be shown as well. But maybe you can all educate me as well. If it's not a sampler, I'd love to hear, so that I learn as well. I'd like to share as well as learn in this community. It's just a great one. The first one is from October House. It's called a Knitter's Sampler, so that's why I picked it, but hopefully there's not too much of a glare here. But it's got the, the berries or just different things in there that kind of remind me of a sampler type stitch. I do knit a little bit. I don't have a lot of whips that have been completed. I love to learn, so when I seen this, and I did get this at Keepsakes, I called and said, can I get that one? And thought this would be a good one to do. It only has 4 colors in them. I guess I can list them, but I really have a lot here, so I probably won't do this for every one of them. But Weeks Dye Works and Gast are the 2 types of flosses that are needed for this one, and it calls for a 32 count linen. So that's that one. This one, I've heard of them, but don't have, these are mostly going to be singles because I don't collect, but you'll see which ones I really liked when we get into the same ones. This one's from Nikki's Creations Primitives. It's called House of Love. I also got this at Keepsakes. I pretty much call Keepsakes my LNS, even though it's not local. Because when I first got back into Flosstube and cross stitch, that's kind of the first ones that I was watching, and found out that Steph worked there, so I just kind of called them and gave them my stitchy love. Another one from Keepsakes. This one is a Lucy Beam. It's called Love and Stitches, I guess is her designing name. But her name is Rebecca Noland, but this one's called Ann Thompson 1811. So these are ones, I dream of doing all of these, but like we've said in the past, collecting is a separate hobby. But this one's a sweet one. It's got a little deer with some flowers, which attracted me. And of course the ABCs, as I was doing the stitching over the years, I've noticed words and letters go a little quicker for me. So I think that's one of the reasons I started looking into samplers. And maybe on another Flosstube Extra one time I can share all the books over the years that I've heard other Flosstubes mention that are worth having, and I've collected a few, so maybe another extra I can do for that. This one is a free stitch that I found online through Carriage House Samplings. It's called Angel, and it came from Homespun Sampler. When I order from them, they would send a free chart, so that's kind of what this one is. It's a black and white. Sorry, it's not in color, but it's got the angel and the letters on there for A, so I thought, that would be considered a sampler. And then Black Branch Needlework. Sorry about that. It's one designer I've not heard of before, but when I seen the sampler, I enjoyed it. And plus, when you get into the 1800s, that's just, I love anything Victorian or the history that you hear. And then, of course, I am a believer, so when it has a verse on it or something that touches my heart, I want to collect that as well. This was bought through Keepsakes as well, and it's called Susanna Raymond Learning 1818. And I'll read it and then I'll show you the picture. It's Jesus, permit thy grace or gracious name to stod, I think is how that's said, or to stand, I'm sorry. It's really in small print. As the first efforts of the infant's hand, and while her fingers on the canvas move, engage her tender mind to seek thy love. with thy dear children, let her have a part, and write thy name thyself upon her heart. I think it says, favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised. And it's got her name on it, as well as the year 1818. And I'll kind of get as close as I can. Hopefully it won't blur. But that's Susanna Raymond. And I'll read the back here. It says, Susanna Raymond was added to my personal collection for a few years ago. Her sampler was among one of the first to join the collection and is the first reproduction for black branch needlework. The original sampler is very well executed and includes a very popular verse found in many samplers during the 1800s. Her sampler, based on the verse and overall appearance, is mature, yet upon further inspection, her sampler is full of whimsy. Looking closer at the geese, looking closer at the geese, they appear to be wearing rain boots, and the blue border across the top is reminiscent of a quilt pattern. So that's one of the reasons I really liked it as well. It just has all the things that I love. So that's Susanna Raymond, Learning 1818. This was a freebie by Louisa Acton, aged 11, it says. That's the title. The name of the pattern is Louisa Acton, age 11, and it was a sale, I am assuming. And it's by 1897 Schoolhouse Samplers. And since it's a freebie, I can share that. And if you want to look up the name of the samplers and print it off yourself, I'm probably not going to list in the description box all of these because, like I said, there is a lot. I just wanted to go through these for your purpose, as well as to learn a little bit if others know more about these. And if it's not a sampler, I'd really be interested to know how people describe their samplers. This one's from Threadwork Primitives in 2012. It's a Dutch tulip, and it's a free chart, not for sale. So it's just a small one, and it's another freebie from Homespun Samplers. When I order things from them, I get those, so I just print them off. Twin Peak Primitives, another good one. This one is the Betsy Ross sampler. I got this one at Keepsakes as well, and I just love, red, white, and blue, of course, and you can see the verse there. I sure hope these are coming out. When I watch this back, I'll know whether I'm going to post this video or not. But Twin Peaks is another one that I've been enjoying lately. They do more than just samplers. They have all kinds. This one I'm not going to share the pattern. I'll just show the picture, but it's a 2020 when we were going through the pandemic. I think her name is Sarcy Girl. Put out this freebie for those that wanted it, and I went ahead and printed it off. I'm looking here to see if there's any other information. And then there was a donation you could make as well, I think is what the purpose that she put it out, so people would do that. And that's kind of what this one is. It's got lots of little sampler type things on it with the houses. And that was a question I had, is if it's a sampler, does it have to have a house in it? So that was a question I had, and I need to do more reading. Like I said, I have plenty of books. I just need to have more time to sit down and read those kind of books. I was a girl that loved to go to the library and spend hours in the library, but as I've aged and gotten older, maybe the busyness of life, I just don't sit and read. So I've gotten in the habit lately of trying to find unabridged books and listen to them that way, but I'm not sure if they have many books out that you can actually read audio. that are sampler type books. But if you know of any, please comment, because I am into the reading lately with the audiobooks. Another sampler type chart. It's also Quaker-like, and I've also included that in my samplers. This one's probably you all have seen. It's Kathy Barrick's AH2EE. It's a reproduction of an 1806 Quaker sampler that I really loved, and I'm pretty sure I got this at Keepsakes, but yep, I put the sticker there. So Keepsakes is, like I said, you'll see a lot from Keepsakes in my stash. One day I'll get there and visit. Would love to go to StitchCon one of these days, but just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Another one was a needlework designer that I hadn't heard of before, called River Drift House Needleworks, and it says published by Creative Poppy, but this is the Jane Austen sampler, and like I said, I'm a lover of books, so I had to get that one. And I'm not sure where I purchased this one. It doesn't have the keepsake sticker on it, but it probably was from them. Another one, Fox and Rabbit's design, was a chart is free and not for sale, so I'll just show you the front, but if you want it, go to their Fox and Rabbit and you can find it. It is called the Shepherd Sampler. Oops, hold it as still as possible. And take screenshots if you like any of these. And like I said, alphabets are, to me, a sampler, so this one is the full alphabet, just all scattered, by Sue Hillis Designs, called Alphabet en Blanc. And I got that one through Fat Quarter Shop, so yeah, there might be a few in here from Fat Quarter Shop as well. Another great shop that I love to support. This craft room is pretty much Fat Quarter Shop and Keepsake and anything else I can find. Online, Etsy shops, lots of Etsy shops. This one is reproduced by Amanda Rowe, and I guess her name is the Solitary Stitcher. This is a black and white picture. It's not a very good quality, but like I said, I printed it off. It's Mary Jane Fry, 1861. But yeah, if you're interested in what it really truly looks like, you could go on socials and type in that, and you will find lots of pictures of what that looks like. Another great newer designer that I've been wanting to get, called Anne Bowen, 1870, and it's a reproduction by Rebecca Murphy, which is Sambria Stitches. Purchased this one through Acorns and Threads. I guess the last year I've really just been trying to not stick to one place to buy things. I always love to find new shops and new places to, you know, support those that are out there trying to share this craft with others, because I really just loved collecting as well as loved doing the charts that I have. You've probably heard of Pinker and Pumpkin, I think is how you say it, or Pumpkin Quilting. They had a sampler that was a free chart on their website. It's kind of small. I hope this comes out, but it's called the U House, and so I'll share that with you since it's a free design. And like I said, it's Pinker, P-I-N-K-E-R, and Pumpkin, P-U-N-K-I-N, quilting, if you are interested in, you know, kind of the house type samplers. It's a cute one, and it's not very big. It's only 71 by 73, which is pretty small. You could probably stitch that up quickly. And that's kind of what I've been noticing lately. I've been checking the stitch count on a lot of the ones that I've wanted to start. And one of the sales that I'm doing that I'll share here in a little bit, I did it because it was a smaller sale than the original that people were doing. It is July, and people talking about Christmas in July. This one is a A Christmas Carol sampler by the Primitive Hare. Fell in love with this because of the horse and the cart. Anything Victorian. And I'm not sure if I purchased this one. It doesn't say where I got it, but I'm sure it was one of those shops, either Etsy or Keepsakes. Another freebie from from the Homespun Sampler from all my purchases. It's called My Needles Work. And it's a silk sampler, and it's black and white, so sorry if you can't see that, but since it's free, I can share that. But go to Homespun Sampler site, and I'm sure you can find it. And another one from, it's a Hungarian motif. I'm trying to see who it's from. It says it was free to use, so I thought that was a cute, I mean, these can be made into little ornaments, or you've probably seen those tins that you can get. I'm going to do a few that way if I get to finishing them. I really like this one. Also a complimentary design from Morning Glory Needleworks. And I liked what it said. It said, these bookmarks probably date from the late 1800s and were originally cross-stitched on 20-count perforated paper. So you can use them in your Bible. I just thought they were really cute sampler type. And the fact that they were stitched back in the 1800s, I deem that as a sampler. This one I bought during the June. It was right before the 6 and 6 that Jessica and Alicia were doing on their Stitch Your Stash group, but it came as a full kit, so it's pretty much ready to go. I just have to start it by Shepherd's Bush, and the name is Sweet Land Sampler. It comes with the floss and the threads. So I really liked that one. I have two from Praiseworthy Stitches, I think. No, Shakespeare's Peddler. Sorry about that. One, I mean, these look like they are fairly large. Yeah, 223 by 223, as well as 313 by 370. So these are like monsters. What do they call those? Baps or something like that. Something I you won't hear out of my lips. Anyways, the titles of these ones are A Savior's Praise and Anne Womack, 1838. These were some of the first ones that I purchased when I seen samplers and fell in love with them. And these are both from Keepsakes. I think that's, yeah, well, I know this one is. So that's the 1838 Anne Womack. And then A Savior's Praise is also Shakespeare's Peddler. I think I got this through Kitten Stitcher, it says. So maybe it was her Etsy shop. Well, this one says Keepsakes, but I'm pretty sure this one came from her website, since it doesn't have Keepsake sticker on it. So when I hear of a different designer, I usually go and see if they have an Etsy shop. Of course, I love Hands Across the Sea, and watch her Flosstubes when I can. I've got so many that I watch, sometimes I get a little behind. But this one was this work I've done by Sandra Motif. It's a free sampler. So it was just a small one. I printed that off. And then I actually purchased the Elizabeth Furnace 1836, which is also another huge design, 347 by 358. And it's one I would love to do. Take me forever, I'm sure, to do, but I love looking at them, and you kind of get excited going through all these. Oh, should I kit that one up? Anna Omaha 1873. These are Lila Studios. There's a couple here from her. I love that it's done all in one floss which would still take me a while, but it's 158 by 156. I just love reading about the history of these. If they have them, some of them do. This one, apparently there's no known history of this sampler, except that it was owned by two elderly sisters who were raised in Illinois in the United States. Their grandparents were originally from Sweden. So that's just kind of interesting to hear the different things about each sampler. And the birds. I love the birds. Another Lila Studios that came out this past March in Market. The Lord's Prayer, I had to have that one. A little bit of that. It says the Lord's Prayer sampler is inspired by our Mary Jane Croft sampler. The same border and colors were used with a little modification. Some of the motifs were also adapted in this sampler. So it just gives the verse, let me be wise, O Lord, our Father which art in heaven. So Mary Jane Croft is on that as well. Size of that one, 238 by 296. So I need to kit these up if I'm going to start them. Another designer that was new to me this year, I think you say it Burgett, or yeah, I think that's pretty much how it is. I ordered some things from her, and in her little postcard she has a little sampler here. I'm not going to share it because I'm not sure if it's a freebie or not, but her design name, I guess, is called the Wishing Thorn. She does some great things, and when I seen these next few, you'll know why. This one is a free pattern, so I can share it. It was in July of 2022. I'm looking for the name. It just says the Wishing Thorn, but it's got the numbers and the alphabet on it, and that's kind of the design. But I did purchase, and that's why the postcard came with a freebie as well, 2 of her samplers that I just fell in love with. This one, of course, because it's got a ship on it. It's the Elizabeth Ranikar 1845 sampler, and that's what that one looks like. That one is, I'm looking for the stitch size, 143 by 143. And then, of course, I had to have, I think it's Brenda and Laura that have been sharing this one. I think Brenda's the one that's doing the Tyndale Sisters, and that's kind of how I heard about the Wishing Thorn, was through their Flosstube. There's 2 in this chart, and it's 1840s. I think I said that. But each of those designs, I'm looking here, is 143 by 173 and 137 by 173. So one is Rosina Tyndale 1840 and Elizabeth Tyndale 1840. So there's actually 2 charts in one in this packet. So I had fun looking on her website for those. The next few are La-Di-Da patterns. I purchased one from Keepsakes, and then the others, I think there's 8 that I actually want to give away through Sanctum Stitching, her website, or her Flosstube, and she sent those to me, so I'll go through these fairly quickly. Humble and Kind by La-Di-Da, and loved that saying, so I had to purchase that through Keepsakes. And then, of course, when you ever win something, you're very grateful for the Flosstubers out there. I just was in love with some of these that she sent. Ones that I know I won't stitch, I might pass the love on, as people have said, share the stash. But this one's called Live, Love, Laugh by La-Di-Da. Harvest Angel, Guardian Angel, and pretty sure I probably won't be stitching those 2, so I am going to set those off to the side. But Live, Love, Laugh, I would love to do that one. Flowery Alphabet, I would love to do. And I think these came from Craft Gallery because these stickers on here say Craft Gallery. This one's called Mares Eat Oats. So I'm not sure if I would stitch that or not. They're cute, but ones that, you know, just attract me, you know, I am going to keep. But the other purpose in going through all these is I wanted to be sure if I'm not going to stitch them, I want to pass them on. So that's kind of what I'm doing here today. This one's called 5 Fine Roosters. My mother would love something like that, but I'm not sure I'm a rooster kind of a stitcher, so I will pass that one on. This one I might do for my grandbaby someday. Twinkle Twinkle. Loving the way that looks. And then Gentle Spirit, I like that one, be his constant guide to me. So I will keep those 4 and pass the others on. That's my plan for this. Keep the paper that I keep with it. The next set, now we're going to start getting into a little bit of the ones that I've started or kitted. You're going to start seeing those as well. This one I haven't kitted or anything, but it's by the same designer, Cottage Garden Samplings. I had to get this one. It's called a Needle Worker's Sampler, Proverbs 31:13. So I'm loving that one. Would love to get this one up, but I've got to finish the ones in my stash and whip pile before I'm going to start any more sampler type stitching. This one I would love to start, but I've already started one of Cottage Gardens already, so when that one gets finished, maybe I'll start this one. But I did buy the fabric for it. It's Heartful of Gratitude, and it's a Cottage Garden sampling. And I bought the fabric and didn't realize when I got the fabric that it was what I needed for this chart, but it's where is it? Weeks Dye Works 36 count, and that's what the called for is on here. It's called Sanguine, and that's what this is. I went to 123 Stitch to pick up an order, and they had a little area where you could go through the things that they had, and they actually had this fabric already there, and I was like, I didn't realize this chart though that I had ordered from them. That's what I was picking up, but didn't realize they would have the fabric too. So I just thought that was a very unique thing to happen. So that worked out perfect. And then the same thing with this other one that I actually started this yesterday. It's called Have Courage by Cottage Garden Samplings, and I'll just share my progress with you as well as the chart. And I probably will share it on my Flosstube as well, but I was tickled to start this one for Pam's, what is it called? Pam's Survival Sale on Just Keep Stitching. She had started this because she's a breast cancer survivor, and when I heard that, you know, of course I went to my mom because she is also a breast cancer survivor. I think she's just over 10 years herself, so I thought I would start that in honor of my mother as well as Pam and all those others going through similar survivals. But this is how far I got just as of yesterday. I am tickled pink with my progress. But this is the leaf just outside the bird. I'm using Sulky Weight 12 petite threads, which is a first for me. I wasn't sure. So it is a 1/2 stitch because the fabric that I'm using is a 36 count putty. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one. So that I can kind of share the flosses here. Let me set this down. Excuse me, something fell. My card, I don't want to lose that. But these are the flosses that I'm using for that stitch. And I picked my own colors. Like I said in a previous Flosstube, the Pam's sale is, they're using a different chart, but because this one is only, bending over again, I'm sorry. This one is only 159 by 159. I think the one that Pam's doing through Keepsakes is where you can get that chart, is much larger, and I knew I probably wouldn't be able to finish something like that. So when I seen Lost in Stitches had started the same chart, I fell in love with the bird and the flowers, and of course it reminded me of my mother, because she loves to garden as well as she loves birds. So in honor of my mother, I thought I would do the same thing and pick my own colors with those new silky threads. That Silky Petite, I think, is what that's called. And since that's a work in progress, I'm going to keep it separate from these others that I'll file away. Now we're into Plum Street samplers, and being that they are a sampler in their name, and they do many, I grouped all of these together. So some of these are just in my stash, a couple are kitted, and I think I've started one Plum Street in my whips. So of course this one came from Keepsakes. It's called, and I'm probably not pronouncing it properly, Ulila. I can't even say it. Eulalie Long, 1789. And it says, sorrow not look onward to mirth, for the day of death is better than birth. And then here lies clay of Eulila Long, her soul hath departed to join heaven's throng. And then they have a date of April 3rd, 1789. So that's a Plum Street. Just for the sake of stitching it the way it was, charted, I'll probably keep all those words in there the way it is, because that to me makes it special. I don't like to change when it comes to samplers from the actual stitched version, which brings me to a new designer that I found. She just made the announcement yesterday that she's got charts out now. Annie the Proper Stitcher. Love the ones that she shared yesterday, so I have one coming. But that's another one for your books if you're looking to find new designers that are out there. But Annie the Proper Stitcher, just shared on her socials that's her new adventure, and I'm excited for her. This one's called His and Hers Thanksgiving. It's a Plum Street also, and they are stockings, but I think they look samplery to me. And I love that she puts verses with all of her charts. This one's Ephesians 5:20, giving thanks always for all the things unto God in his name of our Lord Jesus Christ. So that's just special to have those. I would love to have those in a spare room somewhere hanging for Thanksgiving. I mean, I really decorate Christmas and Thanksgiving are the two big ones for me. This one is kitted but not started. I'll share what I've put together for this. It's a market release from this year. This I Know from Plum Street. I'm using a 28 count sand Lugana and all the called for. So that's the color of the fabric. If I can get the paper turned over. And it's a 28 count. And when you see the chart, you'll see that it's pretty close to what the picture shows to me. So that's why I chose it. It was in my stash. But this is the chart. This I Know. It calls for a 36 count, but you can do it on any that you want. You just have to make sure that the size of the fabric is what you need for the design. And then, like I said, I kitted it up with all the called for DMCs. So those are ready to go as well. So ones that I'm filing, I'm putting here. And the kitted ones will also go back in the closet. So I'm just going to make a big stack. Make it a little easier to put these away when we're done. And this one is actually a whip that I started. It's been in my whip pile for a while. It was a birthday start, August 15th, 2020. And I've in my previous floss tubes, when I shared this, it's been a while ago, I shared how I found it. I was actually at an anniversary weekend with my husband, and we stayed in an old farmhouse. And of course I didn't know what it was because it was just sitting on their shelf, framed and looking just like that, actually. And so I took a picture of it and came home from that weekend and went on my socials, and someone had said that looks like a plum street, so I went to their website to see if it was still in print, and it was, so I had to buy it. So that was a must, because I just fell in love with the verse, and I can read it. It says, "When my days are fulfilled and eternity I face, may the work I prove, this work prove I lived at a sweet handwork's pace." And then it has the alphabet and the year that this person stitched it, but I'll probably put the year that I finish it. And my colors, because I wanted to start it, I went to my stash to find it. So I'm not using the called for colors. I'm using all NPI silks and a few Gentle Arts and Weeks colors. So I'll show you my progress here as well. Since I'm sharing the chart, might as well share my work. Oops, pick that up in a second. I haven't gotten too far, but I have started the border. I'm sorry none of these are going to be ironed. I haven't gotten that organized yet. But I've started the leaf on the top as well as the side border, which I'm very pleased with. It was my first time, I think, using a linen. I was scared to death, but I'm loving how that looks and want to keep at it. I just don't know how long these things are going to take me. This is a 1/2 stitch for me too, so that was also a very hard. That's when I bought my overhead light that has the magnifier on it, because I could not, I mean, I can't see those holes. I have to have a magnifying glass for that. So that is a whip. So like I said, I'm going to keep my whips separate so I can put them back where they belong. Okay, now we're on to mostly kitted in this pile, but there might just be a few charts by themselves. But this one is called the just Samplers is the name of it, but it's by Scarlet House. So I'll share that with you, and I'll share what I've used as my colors, but I have not started this yet. I'm using a Winter's Brew 40 count R&R for this stitch. I think it will go very nicely. And the colors are of my choosing. They're mostly DMC, Gentle Arts, and I think there's, they're either DMC or Gentle Arts colors. So I've put those together with that. So that's another sampler that I would love to start. And the ones that I have kitted up, I don't think I'd kit them if I'm not thinking about starting them. It's just, when will I start them? Another one that was a freebie that I've kitted up just this past month in July. It's called the Bristol Inspired Biddy, and it's by Colorado Cross Stitch. And I actually went ahead and found the Tim Holtz little locket that it's going to go in. So it's a very tiny stitch, which is fine, which means maybe I'll actually finish it. But just go to Colorado Cross Stitcher's website and you'll see the freebie there. It's got 2 little birds on it and a crown. So I'll just quickly flash that. But that was another sampler that I had kitted up. Keep all these together. But I'll share. I'm just going to use a Krynic silk in the red, and the fabric is already in its little Q-snap ready to go. I just need to do it. Hoping to do that before my floss tube, at least to start and see how far I get. And I'm using an Oak Bristol 46 count so that it actually fits into that little Tim Holtz locket, and that's what it's called for, is a 46 count. It's only 43 by 64. So I am excited to see how I do on that one. And I'll have plenty of fabric left over for something else. It'll be my first 46 count, because that's quite a feat for me. I thought 28 was big, and then I went to 32 and tried a 36, and then I hopped over to 40. I did buy a 56 fabric, but who knows what I'll use it for. Another questionable if this is a sampler. It's kind of Quakerish for me, but I did kit it up back in May of 2022. It's on a 40 count Zweigart alabaster that I purchased on an Etsy shop. I'm not sure which Etsy shop, but my thought for this one, and I think I've mentioned Lost in Stitches, Lisa, she's actually doing this, I think it's called in the reverse. It looks gorgeous, and I would love to do that. I got to figure out how though. But I collected these when I kitted it back in 2021, I think. Is that what it says? Yeah, 2021 is when these came out by Modern Folk Embroidery. But the way that the reverse looks on this, it really, maybe I'll ask Lisa, how do you go about putting this in reverse? Or do you have to, is it difficult? It's something, another new adventure that I would love to figure out. But my plan for this was the Leo and Roxy flosses in the blues, because I just love anything blue or teal or green. And I currently have my blue and white china and things sitting out, so I just thought this would be nice. But my question is if I have enough floss here for this whole thing. In the reverse, apparently though, you don't use as much floss as you would if you're doing it the way it's charted. So another thing to look into, but to me that looks like a sampler, so that's why I put it in my samplers. And so many people have shared on social doing these pieces. I would love to do the whole thing. Some people are just doing little motifs, but since I have all the whole thing, I might as well try it. But that's another when, I don't know. Another kitted one that's a sampler that I fell in love with this year, Market. It's called Beloved by Running with Needles and Scissors. I'm using the called for Steinbeck 32 count, and I kitted this up on March 20th of 2023, just a few months back. And there's the fabric Steinbeck I got through Needle and Flax. And then this is the chart, which I just love. It's probably not even on camera, sorry. It's on, it's got a bird on it, which I love the primitive look of the bird, the colors in there, and I'll share the colors that I'm using. I kitted it in DMC. I wish I had the silks for this, but I just didn't. But you can kind of see what that might look like on that floss, that fabric. But it's a sampler, and I fell in love with it this year and said that's a must buy. But I do have it kitted and fabric, so hopefully I can at least start it and see how far I get in my lifetime. Putting all the kitted ones up here, and then the ones that need to be filed I'll keep separate. That's the plan, right? And you can see some of the way I kitted these years ago. It's like, okay, I need some lessons in how to put them on floss tags better. Next ones are all blackbirds. There's quite a few just charts, and I think I have 2 kitted blackbirds ready to go. So I'll run through these fairly quickly. It says My Friend's House by Blackbirds Designs. All Joys for Thine is also a cute one. The Winter is Past. Love this one. I love the way that looks in the blues and the flowers. Merrily, Merrily, We Welcome Spring. Just beautiful works. And then this one's the booklet, and I think there's more than one in this one. Yeah, it says 3 stitching projects in this one. It's called Our Lasting Friendship. So there's quite a few in there that just I fell in love with. And like I said, the next 2 are kitted. I'll share what I've kitted it together with. I had a nice size piece of 32 or 18 count putty, because I was thinking I was going to do a lot of the Santas on this, but when I seen this chart, because I'm actually wanting to do a quilt with this kind of a bird on it, so I thought I would start a cross stitch along with the quilt and do all the things, right? So this is the fabric. It's a 18 count, did I say putty? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called putty. But I had to get my little gauge to make sure, because I lost the tag that was on this, if this was a 16 or an 18 count. And it is an 18 count. And then I'm using my own colors on these, and most of them are the Krynic silk or the NPI silk. And I think there's 1 week's dye works in here. So I think on this fabric that will look good. And of course you're wondering, what chart is she talking about? I should have showed it to you first. Birds of a feather. And I am thinking this will be a long time stitch as well. I forget the count on this. Did I write it down? Sometimes I put the stitch count on my little card, but oh yes I did. 170 by 183, so it's fairly large. So that one's kitted. And then the other one that I'm kitting, well, back to this one for a second. I put on here, oh, I already told you why, because I'm starting a quilt that has that bird on it. This next one that I'm starting is because Lisa from Lost in Stitches is having a birthday start, and lately I've been into all the sales. I don't know, I see somebody start something and they're doing a sale, and a few of them are from Lost in Stitches. But her birthday, I think, is July 31st. So she said any Blackbird chart you could start. So I could start that one, but I want something that I can see myself finishing. So in this book of Sewing Club, I think there's 16 projects in here. I went through this one to see if I could find something just really small. And like I said earlier with the tins, maybe just do the top of it and put it in a tin and make a little pin cushion or something. So I went through here and found the one that's called Berry Wreath. I've only got the 2 colors that I'm using DMC. I need to go pick up 2 more colors, and then the fabric I'm using is an 18 Rustico Ada. So 18 count fabric with the 4 colors is all it takes. And I'll not share the chart since it's in a book, but I'll share the top of it. I would love to do the whole thing, but just this top right here, it's called the Berry Wreath. I thought I could just do the berry top in celebration of Lisa's birthday. And if you haven't watched her Flosstube, you need to. It's just a lovely, lovely lady that has been through a little bit, and we're keeping her in our prayers, but she has a wonderful story, and the things that she shares are beautiful. As you'll see, a lot of my Flosstubes I share a lot because I want to start them all, because she shares them and they're just beautiful. And the stitching that she does, she just finished a Canadian one for her husband that was just gorgeous, and now I'm in the hunt for that chart. So that was the Blackbird that I want to start for her birthday here in a few days, actually. A few other Plum Streets that I guess, did I do Plum? I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess I got those mixed up. These should have been shared when I did Plum Street earlier, but here's a few other ones that I consider samplers because they either have a house on them. Plum Street's Samplers is in the name, or they just look like a sampler to me. And most of these I don't have kitted, so these are just their charts. These are the somersault boxes. Cotton Birds. John and Abigail. And I would love to do this one. I think Brenda from Brenda and Laura, Serial Stitcher, I think she has this one on her wall. It's called The Shepherd's Song. It's a big one though. Came out in 2020. I'm looking for the stitch count here. It's 285 by 178. So it's a dream right now, but I love to look at it. So those are other plum streets. So another stack coming up here. My blackbird's up here. Get rid of this. It's empty, guys. I'm sorry this is so long. I'm not sure what we've been going at, but most of these now are going to be ones that I've collected a lot of, and some are in my whip pile, but I'll try to go through these quickly. This was a freebie from Hello from Liz Matthews called Dutch Pincushion. Carnation Sampler. Grain Sack Sampler. Red R Sampler. I don't know when exactly I purchased all these, but a lot of them were at the same time. AL Motif Sampler. So those really, yeah, I'd love to start some of these, but as you'll see, I have started one of Liz Matthews samplers. It's the First Day of Christmas sampler. So let me share that really quick and where I've gotten to on it. That's what it looks like. When I kitted this up back in, look at my little card. Oh, been a little while ago, 3 years ago, July 1st, 2020. I went to Hobby Lobby and picked up some silks because I wanted it to have that glittery look to it. I need to figure out how to put these on thread drops though. Anybody have suggestions for silk? Because they're very slippery. So I've got this and a black somewhere. I must have, oh, here it is. These are they're called metallics as well as silks, so I've got a mix of those DMCs. Both are DMC. So I bought 1 through 6 of the trees and started the first day. And this is where I've gotten to, and I'm using a 40 count, picture this plus the called for fog linen, and I've just started the border. So I'm not doing the trees, I'm just doing the cross stitch. And the more I look at this, I think I might have gone down too far, but I just have to see how large it's going to be. I forget what the stitch count is, but when I get back to it, I will definitely make sure I didn't start in the wrong place, because this was one of my first ones on 40 count. So I'm still learning. So that was the whip for that. I've kitted up day 2 and thought I would use the same numbers because some of these will have the same numbers as well, but it looks like, yeah, I put the fabric in there as well for the second day. So I'll just share real quickly the other days that I've purchased. I'm not sure how many she has out. I want to say 8 or 9, but I think I only have 6 here. So what I've done is stuck the DMC colors that are different from the other charts that I needed. This is day 3. Yeah, because every other one you're going to find 2 different colors. Day 4. And I was thinking I would do all the same, but as I was collecting, I got kind of behind. So as I do them, I'll probably decide which other colors. See, I stuck a fabric or a DMC in there that was different that I hadn't had with the first ones. And that's day 5. And then I think this is day 6. Yeah, see, there is actually a piece of linen in that one. So I'll probably do them in order, 1 through 6. So this will get used for day 2 probably. But that's day 6. So those were Hello from Liz Matthews. As you can see, I love a lot of her charts. Now we're going into Heartstring Samplery, which is Beth Twist. This first few are just the charts that I've collected, called Precious Littles. A lot of those will be easy to do. I just need to finish some of the ones in my whips first. This one's the Stitching Life, which I had to get that one because of all the stitching. And then this one's a combination of the Berry Bowl sampler by the Scarlet House and Beth Twist. It's kind of a combo. One's one side, one's the other. So those are just in my stash, but they are samplers. And then these next 2, I started one and kitted the other. So the one that I started is His Eye is on the Sparrow. It's a monster. And I kitted this one up back in March. It looks like either the 8th or the 5th of 2020. So I went ahead and purchased the called for flosses. So these are the called for, all on a ring, ready to go. And this is the chart I'm talking about. His Eye is on the Sparrow. And I'll show you my measly start 3 years ago. I picked it up in 2021 a couple times. I think it was for my whip go. Find it here. Here it is. And I am using an Ada, and it's an 18 count, so it's probably going to be fairly large. Let me pick this up, make sure I'm putting it all in the same place. And this is how much I've gotten done. Don't want this to fall on the floor is what I'm trying to avoid. So that's where I'm at. I need to get back to it. Not sure when, but it is on an 18 count. And I purchased a lot of the flosses through 1-2-3 Stitch. The fabrics came from Keepsakes. They helped me with sizing. It was because it was when I was first starting back into cross stitch and I didn't know how big of a piece I'd need, so going to a different count, because I think these ones call for I think some kind of linen, and I wasn't ready to go to linen yet at the time, so I went with an Ada. So that's what this one is. And then Consider the Lilies is this one, and it came out back in 2020. And I got the fabric from Keepsakes, and it's pretty much the same colors as Consider the Lilies. So if I need to restock when these ones get used up, I'll have to just make a note of what I've used. But that's kind of what I've done with Heartstring Samplery. Another sampler that I started, this one's by, is it Long Dog Samplers? You get the chart. I'll show you what it looks like first, and I'll show you my progress. Cardinal points. And yes, I started this when I seen Pam from Just Keep Stitching. She finished hers and had to call and get it, and I think I did get it through Keepsakes. But I'm using, I don't know if I did the call for on all these. I didn't write it down. I'm pretty sure it is, because I wanted it to look like the chart. And I'm just using a white, I forgot to look and see what count I was using. I didn't write it down, so I'll have to go back into my chart. There's just a couple here that I guess I started way back and wasn't as organized as I am now, but this is how far I've gotten. Just on I did the center start on this one because I wanted to quickly start it. I didn't want to worry about borders. So I got some of the berries made up and I started a little motif down there at the bottom. So I need to get back to these. So that one was a Long Dog Sampler. next one that I started during the SYS 6 and 6 back in June of this year. I consider it a sampler. It's from the Heart Needle Art. It was a patriotic. Freedom Quaker is the name on that one, and I'm doing that one on a 40 count. And I think I picked my own colors on these just because I wanted to be a part of that weekend that they were doing. So I've got some classic colorworks in here, and the fabric is a Cafe au Lait 40 count, and this is my start. Sorry, it's not ironed. But I had fun. I mean, a lot of this, the fun for me is kitting it and putting it all together, and then if I can actually start it, it's an extra plus. So that's Freedom Quaker. This other whip has been in my stash for a little while. It was gifted to me. I think it's called #StitchKitPass, and it was from Hillary at Rustic Thread Stitching. I was watching her Flosstube and she was sharing, and I told her I'd love to start it when she finished it, and she sent it along with the flosses. And that's what you kit it, or you stitch it, then you kit it again and pass it on to someone else. So #KitStitchPass or StitchKitPass. Sorry. And that's a Jeanette Douglas pattern. The paper's gotten a little rough, but I have the original she sent me. I just printed it, so I'll just need to print it off again when I finish and pass it on. It's called Tulip Mini Banquet, and this is how far I got. The fabric I'm using is a 40 count lakeside linen that she sent. I guess the only thing is it's 1 strand over 2, so the white is really hard to see on this, but that's how far I got. Got the border done, and I started in the center a few of the motifs. But I would love to finish this and pass it on as well. I started it back in April of 2022, so we're almost just over a year on that one. Another one I started, Teresa Kogut. She has a few samplers that I consider samplers. I started the, what's it called? I'm trying to see the name without dumping the whole table. Land That I Love. And this was also SYS. I pulled it back out. I had already started it though back in, what does my note say? Well, I kitted it back in May of 2022, and I actually started it on July 10th of the same year, and then I worked on it again, like I said, in June or July when we started the 6 and 6. But my stitching on a 40 count is really slow, so there's hardly anything on this piece of huge fabric. I kitted it with DMC, put it on some thread rings, but this is the start. Did I actually show the chart? That's the chart. And I did a left corner start, so up here on the border I started with the blue, just a little tiny start. And this fabric, if you're wondering, is the Tin Roof, and it's the Called For by Weeks Dye Works. So because of that, when I charted the DMC, I just used their conversion. They have a DMC conversion on the back. So my little start for Teresa Kogut's sampler, and it has the ABCs in it, so yes, it's considered a sampler. And then the next one are just, I think these ones haven't been started. They're just considered samplers, so I pulled them. It's also a Teresa Kogut. Land That I Love. Or no, sorry. That was just what we did. Let Love Rain. It's done on a 20 count ivory. And this one was gifted to me, which I'm so thankful for. Tanya is her name, the Starlit Stitcher. We were communicating for a while. I still go back and forth a little bit, but she used to do floss tubes. I don't think she's out there right now. But she sent me the flosses for Let Love Rain, the DMCs, as well as the Weeks Dye Works, and the fabric, which is a 20 count ivory, like I said, very large piece. And so I kitted this up together. It was back in May when all this happened, or she kitted it, not me. And this is the actual book. And I'm on her floss tubes. You can still find them on YouTube. She shows a finish of this, and it is amazing. So yeah, I'm thinking this is the one she said she finished. It was either this one or the one previous that I just shared, the patriotic one, Land That I Love. She finished one of these, and her stitching is amazing. So if you want to be awed, go check her floss tube out. I need to text her and ask her if she thinks she might get back on Flosstube, because I actually miss seeing all of her stitching. The next one is also a whip. Oops. And it was started back in, I want to say 2020. I didn't put the year, but it says September 6th, so it must have been during COVID, or was it 2021? We did it for the hashtag 66 Days of Stitching. It's a Brenda Gervais pattern called Coming to America. And the fabric I'm using is a 40 count vintage country mocha. So I will share that with you. There are my flosses. I'm going to set these off to the side. And there's I don't want to share the chart. It came like with a little floss drop to put your extra flosses on. And I'm going to share this chart so you can actually see what it looks like. It's going to be a fairly large one as well. And like I said, it came in a little box. It was a kit. I don't know, I'm sure you could still get it. But the Women of the Mayflower. Yeah, it says 2020 on here, so that's when I'm thinking we started this. I should update my chart. Do that right now. But here is my measly start on this. If I find it here. Sorry, it's so wrinkled. Actually, it's not too measly, but I enjoyed it because it has little birds on it. Let's see if I can stand up and do this here. Got the little white birds and a little bit of the border. It kind of helps me to do a little bit of the border and then stay on track, but that's kind of where I started. I'm not sure how well that's showing up. And a lot of Oscar in this one. Weeks Dye Works, but it's going to be fairly large when you see how large the fabric is, but super wrinkled. But I do keep it in the little box. But that was a sampler that I really wanted to start, and it was a sale that everybody was doing together, so yes, I had to start it. I need to finish. I guess I'm not much of a finisher going through all these. You can kind of tell. I think I've only finished in the last 3 years, 3 or 4. One I didn't share, but it's in my previous floss tubes. Is also a Beth Twist. Baby, It's Cold Outside. I don't know if it's considered a sampler, but to me it was one of the larger ones that I've done. It has a house in it, and I loved starting that one as well. A few others by Brenda Gervais, and we'll be all done. We have the Quaker sewing tray. I really want to do this one because I have a tray that I want to put it in. Our Hearts. And then when we bought that Coming to America in the kit, this Harvest Blessing was in there. So, and then lastly, we did it, guys. Lastly, one more from Brenda Gervais is actually, I haven't started it, but I have kitted it, and I would love to start it. Is, I'm not sure if these are called for or not. They might be, because I really wanted to stay true to what they used. Of course, you recognize the paper, the keepsakes tissue paper. I got the fabric, which is a 16 count Aida Country French Cafe Mocha. Stitch count is 163 by 180. And like I said, I got the flosses here on a ring. And let me share the chart. And I think it was Farm Girl, I think is her name, that shared this, and she was doing or starting a sale. The Harriet Elizabeth Co., which I really thought was beautiful, and said, well, I'd like to get it and see if I can do it, but I haven't even started it yet. So yeah, I guess I did do a few subs on these, but I wrote down what the call for was as well as what I'm using. So I keep that with this so that I know which colors go with which print. So that one's also kitted sampler ready to go. But like I said, if I can finish a few of the bigger ones before I actually start some of these, unless I get suckered in by a sale that someone's doing, it'll be ready to go. But I did just want to share my love of the samplers lately and what I have in my stash, and thought that would be a fun Flosstube extra for you all. I appreciate you sticking with me if you stayed this long. But like I said, I'll be back in August for just a Flosstube update and stash and haul, and if I have any finishes by then. So we will see you again next time. Bye-bye.